it's the Mike Rogers Show. Mike Rogers here with you. And today we have part 2 of our interview with the very famous future superstars, the FallingDoves leader, Mr. Chris Leyva. Yay!
It's a pleasure to be here. Well, I wish I would have had you growing up, man. What a cheerleader.
What's that?
I would have had a better childhood if you were around.
Tell us about the FallingDoves. Anyways, give us just another brief rundown of the FallingDoves. Wait a minute. You guys came to Japan recently, right?
Right.
And then I noticed your back band, you had a girl in there.
Yeah, she's playing bass, Katie Harold.
Well, that was very smart for Japan.
I know.
So tell us about your band. Your back band is always changing, or what's going on?
No. So like I was saying, the foundation of the FallingDoves history is the FallingDoves, as it says on the wiki bio, is a collection of professional and session touring musicians. So you sometimes don't know who's going to be on tour with me, kind of like the Ringo All-Star Band. And that's what allows me to be very lucky that sometimes I'm able to take, the bass player from that album that was, that FallingDoves record, or the drummer of the FallingDoves has never toured with the FallingDoves, but he plays on every album, right?
Really?
We have a touring drummer that's an older cat in his 70s named Greg Smith, who's played with a lot of people. So he's been there through everything. He's always on time. No pun intended. And then I have the liberty of, based on whatever creative musical exposition I'm doing, I'm able to bring in the right elements to bring the music to life. On this record, on this tour particularly, which is the Technicolor Dreams tour that I'm doing 2022, I wanted to change the energy of the band and not just be these rock and roll leathered guys. I wanted to have the sensibility of a female in the band. It brings a different dimension, and also the music in that album is a little bit, there's some romance, some sadness type of stuff, but there's some sexiness, and I think bringing that into life as well with a proficient musician brings it to life. So Katie was doing backup vocals for the FallingDoves for the last tour. Last year, she was just singing on everything. And I noticed, she's very talented, and she's like, yeah, I'd like to try some bass. I will get you a bass. We got her a bass. She learned the bass in 1 month. And that she's just gifted. She's gifted as a musician. So 11 songs, if you can't believe it, she was able to do.
Wow.
Within 1 month. She told me this at the end of our tour in Australia. It was December 19th. We talked about this, and she fiddled around with different people's basses, but in January we were able to get her own, and got her she even landed an endorsement with Hofner. So that's, I always tell her, I go, it took me years to be able to get to where you're at. Now you have your own picks and your own endorsement. That's freaking awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
She was popular in Japan, wasn't she?
Oh, they loved her. And I'm going to say this to you. 2019, I toured with another professional guitar player that was playing bass, a female, gorgeous woman, but her energy wasn't there. She thought she was prettier and cooler than everybody. And, Japanese people are very sensible and sensitive to stuff. And because they're shy in nature, they're not going to come talk to you if you don't talk to them sometimes. Yeah. But once you break that bubble, it's this amazing smorgasbord of fun, laugh, jokes, and you take away the shyness element where they can be comfortable and be themselves. And Katie was able to do that with them in such a way that they were so happy. And there's a lot of beautiful, expressive stuff that everybody was saying to each other, and it's nice, and I like to be able to create that atmosphere on the times, And the other thing is, I'm very, very big on staying there and supporting all the bands all the way to the end, and the bands really appreciate that when the headline band watches every band.
Wow. So this last Japan tour, and it just ended like the other day, right?
Yeah. We just came home about a week ago.
So where all did you play?
On this particular tour, we were able to do about 3 dates in Tokyo.
Mm-hmm.
Then we were able to go to Kyoto at Mojo. We were able to go to Osaka at Bijan, which is one of our regular places. Kobe.
Wow.
We did 4 nights. Yeah, Kobe. There's this club called the Alchemy Club, and it's an amazing small jazz rock lounge club. And they've stepped it up with backline sound, and the mixology there is incredible. You are playing for a lot of expats, but also a lot of art and music students from around the planet. So it's pretty awesome, man. We were able to get 4 additional nights out of that residency there. And then we went to that little town I told you in the middle of nowhere, which was in Ube.
Mm-hmm.
And the people there were so happy to meet us and to hang out with us, and so appreciative of us making our way all the way out in the middle of nowhere. This lady was like, "I've never seen rock and roll. Is this rock and roll?" Yeah, it was lovely.
So I really think you guys, this tour of Japan, you really made it, and you guys should come back here again soon, at least next year.
Yeah,
and
no, we're back.
You're going to have a lot bigger shows, aren't you?
Well, I think this had been our 5th time in Japan. The first tour was informal. Second tour we did have on our own with another promoter. Third tour the promoter took over. Fourth tour 3 different promoters. And on this tour particularly, you don't want to say that people don't do a good job, but no one's going to love what you do more than you do. And that's a reality. And there was a lot of things that just were not crossed off that I felt was important that someone didn't think it was important.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, I was like, well, I'll fund it myself, figure it out. And between you and I, we didn't get to do all the big clubs we usually do in Tokyo. Mm-hmm. We were doing really nice rooms, and that's what a lot of people, one conversation that I believe you and I were saying that sometimes you get these bands that travel so far only to play for 3 or 4 people at these clubs, right?
Yeah.
And for us, we were able to. I was afraid between you and me after what happened after the pandemic, because we had been getting really nice rooms, Mike. I mean, the rooms there are not that big, they're 100 capacity, but we were packing them, and
Mm-hmm.
we have tons of videos on YouTube. You can see the people just screaming out of their brains. And so going and doing that independently on a short notice, we were still able to lock a lot of dates down. And I have a feeling that like you said, I think our next year March tour is going to bring back those venues that we loved and cared about, get us back into more rooms. And we made a lot more friends this year. So it should be an even bigger tour next year, next March.
I want to ask you a question about, I'm a little disillusioned with, I don't even know what they're called, concert promoters in Japan. And I've heard not just from you, I've heard from many people not good things about these concert promoters. So this last tour with you guys, you arranged everything, and I was so impressed, just blown away that you could arrange all of this stuff by yourself. So do you have any thoughts on that, or tips for artists who want to come to Japan?
Yeah. And the rules remain the same no matter where you go in the world. And we're going to go back again and touch about places like Heavy Sick in this conversation. One of the best pieces of advice I was ever told by Chuck Berry was that when you find the place, always have a little dive bar in your own hometown that you can always come back to. Mm-hmm. Just a little dive bar that when you come home, you can call and go, hey, do you have anything that I can do this week? Or I want to come in and just do a little jam. if you lose that, you don't have anything.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because the world will always change, but those little dive bars, for some fucking godforsaken reason, stay around.
Mm-hmm.
So with that mentality, we've been able to lock down places like that all over the world. We always have a little dive bar
Mm-hmm.
that we can start from. You know what I mean? Because that's where you build community.
Yeah.
And what I tell bands, when you go out into these countries and you go through an exploration tour, because that's what it is. Get to know the bands, go to as many shows as you can, play as many open mics as you can, play coffee shops, be humble enough to do a restaurant gig or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's how we started in Japan. We didn't start just at the clubs or at the big clubs. And credit is deserved where credit is due. Some of those promoters that we did work with did introduce us into the culture, did
Mm-hmm.
introduce us into the customs, did introduce us into the behavior that you have to kind of carry in order to do stuff, timeliness and all this stuff is hammered on. As you know, in America, time and being on time is important, but people are not very, strict with that. Even in England, they're a little lenient, but in Japan, it's not really an option or a conversation. You know what I mean? It's if you want to be part of that status quo, you have to kind of follow the rules, and so, if we could do a seminar about it, it'd be amazing. This is probably a 30-second seminar. Just get out there, fly out there, reach on the message boards on Facebook with musicians, talk to musicians, and just understand that the way that the clubs work out there. Sometimes you are going to have to rent the clubs out.
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't know you. They don't know who you're going to bring. And they don't know if you're going to cancel, because these things does happen as a venue owner.
Mm-hmm.
So a deposit ensures what? Two things. That you're going to show up. Two, that you're invested into it. Three, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're taking care of the venue just in case you flake out. Once you get through those situations, man, the deposits are no longer needed. People will trust you. But you got to earn that trust.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, man, like everything in this business, you still have to have financial investment into everything. If you don't invest it in yourself, it's not going to happen. But when I said in yourself, that's you spending it yourself, not handing it off to a promoter to do it for you.
Yeah.
Because then you're not getting the investment you're investing into the pot.
Yeah. So can I start telling people, like, contact you on Facebook?
I think we should do, like some type of seminar, man. I think that would be important.
Oh, that would be a great idea. We should do that.
And I could guide bands through some of the places that they could do stuff and move around, legalities, because sometimes, it's also important, depending where you're going. Always try to be as truthful and as honest as you can, but you also can't show up with, two guitars and looking all like you're ready to perform, because you're gonna flag. And at some point, as your professional career moves forward, yes, get an artist visa, get a working visa. You know what I mean? Or work with somebody that has a work visa. You do want to get to that point, but you got to be making good money too to make it worthwhile. So
yeah, a lot of people will write to me and ask me, like, Mike, can you promote our tours? And I'm like, what do you mean promote? Like, if you want me to play you on the radio and do that, yes, I can do that. But if you want to pay me money to arrange shows for you, I can't do that. And it's only because I'm a radio DJ, and in this country, payola is really a serious crime here.
Yeah.
So people will lose their jobs doing. So if I accepted money from band A and played them on the radio, someone at the radio station will say to me, "Hey, are you accepting money from this band," or something like that? And I'm not a good liar, Chris.
Yeah.
So that would be great. That's a great idea. We should do a seminar.
And we can just dedicate it to Japan. Like I said, the rules change, but I would say, Asia, which also includes Australia in that end.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? I've
Yeah.
only been lucky, like I said, to perform out there, but I feel what people would benefit is learn how to create a plan, a realistic financial plan of the
Mhm.
things needed to do their tours and their work. And knowledge should be free. It shouldn't be something that we're out there charging people. It's something that we offer to hopefully change the way that things work out there. But the
Yeah.
reality on the other end, I spoke to some of the bands and spent time with them. And they tell me, that it's hard for them too, the local bands in Japan, because they have to guarantee a certain amount of people into the venue, or they got to pay a certain amount of money into the club.
Yep.
So that's just kind of where things are at, between the Wednesdays and the Fridays and the Saturdays, and each day carries a completely different price thing. On our end, we're blessed that we've gotten to a point where people actually give us money at these shows. So that's it. I mean, I'm not asking for the world. Just you do a
Mhm.
job, we get a check, right?
Mm.
The music's free, but it's all the other stuff that cost us money that we got to recoup.
So, Chris, let's do that seminar.
Yeah, no, make it happen. I'm always in.
Let's do it soon. Can you do it in the next week?
April. If as long as we can do it before April 5th, because we fly out on tour on the 5th.
What's the date? Oh, we got only a few days.
Yeah,
Oh my
but
God.
then I come back. Yeah. Then it's nonstop shows until the 20-something.
Okay, well, after we're done with this, let's talk about that.
We'll put it in the book.
So, I mentioned in the first part of this interview, you got airplay on Rodney Bingenheimer's show.
Yeah, man. Thank you as well, because the
Was that
ricochet
because of me? I mean, I sent him the song, but I didn't.
Listen, I'm going to say this to you. Rodney plays whatever Rodney wants, no
Yeah.
matter what people tell him. If he doesn't like it, he won't play it. That's the thing about Rodney. I've known Rodney since I was about 18, man. And I've never even once bugged him to play me on his stuff, because it's hard when you have a relationship with someone. You
Yeah.
don't want to push that envelope. And our friendship's always just been based on rock and roll and stories of rock and roll, and that's it. And we just sit there and talk about bands and albums and recordings and how that album was made, and that's enough for me.
I listened to the music you sent me. I listened to them all, and I thought, okay, which song sounds like it fits Rodney's show? And then I sent him that song, and I was really surprised to see. I mean, no, I don't mean I was really surprised because of you guys. I send him songs every week, and anytime I see one, oh yeah, all right, yeah.
It's nice that he grabbed it and picked it up. That's awesome. And he listens to everything. When I gave him that vinyl record, the one that you should be getting in a few days, he told me, off the cuff, I think we were waiting in the parking lot for him to go home, and Brad was about to pull up, and he just grabs my sleeve and he goes, "There's a song in that album that reminds me of my mother." He says, "Thank you." And there's a song called December. He's like, "December, thank you." And he just shook his head and got in the car. So that tells you that he actually listens to everything, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, so last thing, Chris, you're touring from April 5th. Where are you touring?
So we're gonna do just a small run of dates up the West Coast. So we're just going up to Oregon. We've been working on that market and building it up. It's just a cool scene. We're gonna play a few shows there, just 5 shows. Come back home, and then we have the NAMM convention, and we have a bunch of shows there in a row for all our sponsors, at House of Blues in Anaheim, a couple other shows up and down Hollywood area, and we are working on this. This I can say now. So do you remember the actor Billy Bob Thornton?
I know the name.
Married to Angelina Jolie in the 90s.
Yeah.
He was in Monsters Ball. Crazy actor that was drinking her blood. So he's got a band called the Boxmasters that are really good, and they're playing at the world famous Troubadour. And we got tapped in to see if we might be opening up that show. So I signed the contract. I sent the paperwork. It's just a matter of laying down a few more details before they can announce us. But I mean, I can talk about it now since I already signed paperwork.
Mm-hmm. Wow, congratulations, Chris.
Yeah, that'll be the biggest stage in Hollywood other than the whiskey that we've played. And it's nice, you know?
Yeah. Wow, that's really cool. So really, congratulations on that. This year's going to be a big year for the FallingDoves, right?
Yeah, we got tours, but from now till the end of the year, we're going back to Australia, we're going back to England, we're going back to France. And you know what? The promoters that get it, they're actually going outside of the box and renting actual bigger venues, investing money because they believe in the band and they think that they can pack it up. And I'm going to tell you what was lovely. I was in the train in Japan, and this guy just followed us from the show, just followed us. He wanted to just keep talking up at the band. And the man, just young guy, sat in the train talking about band and the best way he could with his translator and a little bit of English, and just going, he's seen all these bands and he says, your band is there with these bands. And this guy's sitting next to us, okay? This guy's minding his own business with his thing. And he taps it. He's like, this band's amazing. You need to listen to this. You like this band. And this guy got this guy to come to our next show just out of the train. That's you know what? Those are the people, man, that you need to come to your shows. Because those are the ones that tell people about you.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
okay,
that was really neat.
Do you have any last words you want to say? Anything funny?
Yeah, Katie, you want to come say hi real quick? Katie's here from the FallingDoves. Come say hi. He was just saying he was excited that there was actually a girl on the tour.
Hello.
Hello.
I am
Your name is Shady?
Katie.
Katie, sorry. I thought sounds shady. Katie.
This is my girl. This is the Hofner.
How did you like Japan?
This was endorsed.
Katie, how did you like Japan?
It was amazing. That's my first time being there.
Yeah.
And it was just, the people are so nice. And the transport is just a new world of learning and moving around. And the shows were great. It was so great.
That's good. I'm always glad when I hear someone liking Japan. I like it here too, but I've lived here for like 40 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Crazy.
So, anyhow, thanks so much for this interview today.
Thank you so much,
Chris
Mike.
and Katie. Thanks so much. I'm glad I got to meet you, Katie.
Glad I got to meet you.
You're supposed to have dinner with us.
Oh, yeah?
So, okay. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much to the FallingDoves, Chris and Katie. Thank you.
Thank you so much.